Ones, here we are, Sunday again. It's a wonderful way, the way it comes around so very quickly. And we are continuing in our sojourn with regard to creating a world that works for everybody, and to do that in a particular way this month through honoring, we are asked to honor all nations and all peoples and all cultures and all of life as the one thing that it is. And that's our focus in our organization this month. And so we're doing this today under the sense of what it is to be here on this plane as blessing beings. We are called into life as a blessed being. We are here to live as a blessing being, and as a consequence of that, bring about the transformation in ourselves and in our world that is necessary for an individual or a world to continue to be its greater self and expand in its awareness of the moreness of life in every which way. That's what you and I are called to. Actually, that's what we came in as, blessing beings. And of course, the way to be able to ground ourselves in blessing is to first understand that it operates with two other amazing energies to create this triumvirate. And the other two energies are gratitude and praise. And it is in gratitude that it begins. The waters, when I dip myself into the waters of gratitude and I bathe in the waters of gratitude and I allow that gratitude to absolutely overcome me. And when it does, what it does to me and anybody else is to mellow us out, and to bring us that sense of quiet calm and that sense of deep appreciation for our own life, all of life, and more than anything else, the creator of all of life, which pushes us into the next one, which is praise. Because you can't be grateful and not be praising, and you can't be grateful and praising and not be a blessing and bless. It's impossible. So this is a fantastic triumvirate of amazing power. And you and I get to be called to live into it, into that power, and from that power. And as a result of that, just accomplish what we're here to do is to make a difference and to leave this world the better than the way we found it. That's what our aim is, our goal is. Well, let me tell you, we're running out of options now. Have you noticed? I mean, really. I mean, we can't laze around anymore. We can't ignore it anymore. And we can't resist our true calling anymore. Because there won't be any more if we do in a short space of time. We'll be on to a different experience somewhere else in the galaxies or whatever that is. Because Mother Earth is getting a little bit testy at the moment. I don't know if you've noticed. And as tempers rise and as we dig in our feet of resistance to what we think life should be in our various and sundry groups, in our separated and divided groups, which I'm not having any of, by the way. I'm not listening to all of that rubbish about how separated we are. They don't know for nothing, anybody who says that. There is only one, and that one is the life of all life. And that life is my life, it's your life. Now, like it or lump it, that's the way it is. And so we're in acute times now, and we're getting, it's urgent times. Do you feel the urgency? I feel this urgency more and more every day for us to be able to awaken ourselves and be better and start now the turnaround, the great turnaround of the direction we seem to be going in, because it's on total self-destruct at the moment as I see it. I could be wrong. I'm knowing I'm wrong, actually. But for me to be wrong in this way, you and I have to do a few things. And let me tell you, the times for blaming governments and corporations and groups of all kinds is over and done with. It's not about that anymore. I don't know that it ever was. It's about you and it's about me getting it. It's about you and about me awakening into the understanding and the awareness of the power that is available to me, to you, to express itself through you in a way that is totally transforming, that can indeed turn everything around and get us back on track again. So that's what we're looking at today. We're looking at this. the responsibility that you have and that I have as stewards of this world, this planet. And I can tell you now, there's no more time wasting around, pediddling around this idea of a nationalism. We're long since past that. We left that a while back. And we're into globalism now because we're one planet. It gets smaller with the way communication advances all the time. We're one people, one planet. Again, like that or lump that. That's the truth. That's the truth. Be ye one. Be ye as your Father and I are one. Be ye one too. Jesus wasn't the only one that said this. Anybody with an ounce of spiritual sense has been saying it since time immemorial, since the beginning. We are one. And then we have to stop the nonsense of them and us and we and they and all the rest of it. We're one. We're one energy. We're a life force energy. We're a human life force energy that lives in the divinity that's unbelievable if we could only wake up into it. That's what we are, and it's time to be who we are in truth, and not this messing around and pediddling around with this and that and the other that's stopping us and blocking us and distracting us and causing us all kinds of ructions in ourselves, in our own lives, and in the world. It's got to stop. The madness must stop. The illusionary state must stop. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up, people. And I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm just talking about you, and I'm just talking about me. That's all it takes. All the rest out there is none of your business or mine, but what's in here is my business, and it's yours too. And I can do something about this, but I can't do anything about anything else. So the question is, are you ready to wake up? That is the question. And stop pediddling around with it and playing with it and seeing it as a nice concept and a nice idea that's going to happen sometime in Never Never Land. It has to happen now. And you have the ability to wake up, and so have I. But many of us, too many of us, over 51% of us want to stay asleep. Don't want to wake up. 51% of it is all it takes. If 51% of us could become more awakened, wake up and get a sense of things the way they are and how we're empowered to turn around everything and change it all for the better. I mean, I'm just saying that we need to do this so that our children and their children have some kind of a feasible, viable world to live in. We've got to do this for these. If we don't want to do it for ourselves, we've got to do it for the children. We must do it for the children, so that there is a sustainable world left for them to live in and eventually flourish and thrive in. Let me tell you, the American dream has changed. The American dream is not what it used to be. All over the world, the globe, people had the American dream. They always dreamed of America and the possibilities of America and so on. That's not happening anymore. That's not sustainable anymore. That dream doesn't exist anymore. We need a new dream for the first time in a very, very long time, if ever. Our children haven't got the assurance that they can do as well, far less supersede their parents. They haven't got that. A few, yes, but not the majority, not by any manner or means. And so we've got to think down, as the Native Americans always said, you have to think down 7 generations and sustain 7 generations down the line in order to take care of the planet and what it needs in order to be able to sustain all life on it. We're not even thinking of 1 generation, it seems to me. Not 51% of us, that's for sure, because if it was 51%, we'd be home free. We'd be on our way, definitely launched along the right line of recovery and sustainability and healing. And the understanding that all of us have a part to play, not them, not them, not them. I have a part to play in this, you have a part to play in this, and we're the ones, that's why we're here. And if any one of us in any spiritual community thinks that there's any room in this for separation and division and groups of different kinds that are not in solidarity, they're snuffing something. And it is not divine grace, I can tell you that. There's no getting away from this. You and I are called to be what we're called to be. A united front, one mind, one heart, one soul, one body, one work to do. And it's time all of us here got to roll up our sleeves and got out there and just stood in our own truth, wherever we are, however we are, with whomever we are. And just be that truth. That's all. That's all we have to do. But we cannot be in agreement with anything less than what is good for our children and what is good for the sustainability of this country. My goodness me. Have you noticed climate change? Have you even noticed it? I mean, never before in the history of as we know, in the history of our planet, have we had such amazing deterioration of so many of our resources. We have going on right now seas that are expanding because of ice caps that are melting. We have floods like we've never known before. We have wildfires like we've never known before. We have hurricanes like we've never known before. We have drought. We have all of these hot, burning outbreaks of weather all around like we've never had before, globally speaking. We have deserts that are expanding and all kinds of challenging elements that are taking place in our world right now. How long more do we have to see this happening without waking up and stop the fiddling so that Rome can stop burning? I mean, that's you, that's me, that's all of us. It's me. The responsibility is on me, not them, not they, not those out there, not anything but me. I am responsible for what's going on in the planet. Why? Because 51% of the collective consciousness has gone awry. And I pour myself into that 51%. Every single one of us are thinking into it, good, bad, and indifferent. And at any given moment, it can change. And I believe it can change just like that if enough of us would just wake up and don the responsibility and sovereignty of who and what we are and stop playing so small. Because that's what we've been doing. I can't do it, they can do it. Well, let me tell you, there's this wonderful old adage, it always has spoken to me. It says, I am only one, but I am one. And though I cannot do everything, I can do something. And the something that I can do, I must do. And I must do it now. Now. What are you doing now? What am I doing now to alleviate the suffering on this plane? To the extent that it could be overwhelming. We could lie down and die from the sorrow and the sadness if we were to allow ourselves to go into despair, but we will not despair. We will not be afraid because we know otherwise, do we not? Yes, we do. So the calling is to you and to me, and this is good news. This is really great good news. It says the solution is here. The solution is under your nose. The solution is you. You are the solution. You don't have to keep going along with hearsay, status quo, or anything else. You have a phenomenal power within you. You have a voice that can speak, but it must be in tones of what integrates, what comforts, what heals, what unites, what does no harm. That's the way we need to be speaking now, as all the dear ones did and are doing now. There's still a small group amongst us, God knows, that they are indeed what keeps us together. Amazing grace that keeps us together and stops self-destruction. There are these groups, but they're not the 51% yet. We need to wake up and add to it. We need to help them out here because we can, because we're strong, because we're empowered, because we have that amazing grace surging through our very being. And we've stopped it and we've blocked it with all kinds of distractions and all kinds of nonsensical beliefs and all kinds of, there are no words. I'm saying now's the time. There's no more time left. It's beyond 5 minutes to midnight in human terms, but not in divine terms at all. There's always enough time in the kingdom. Always enough time for the truth to take root and the truth to take over, and the truth to set us free from the nonsensical ideas we have about life and people and all the rest of it. We are one people. I belong to everything and everyone on this plane and in all of the cosmos, and so do you. And each and everything belongs to me. I reflect that. I reflected all the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. I reflected, and so do you. But what we want to reflect is something more awesome and something more powerful than the illusion we've been living. And we have to break through our own sense of entitlement and our own sense of greediness and our own sense of whatever it is that's stopping us and blocking us from being the givingness of life back onto itself, as Ernest Holmes is always reminding us. For heaven's sakes, how much more of this is it going to take before you and I get off our spiritual derrieres, roll up our sleeves, and get to work in turning this thing around? And there's no one and nothing can stop us and block us when we are a united front. There's a power of one, but when those ones come together and create this vortex of massive dynamics, spiritual energy, everything must bow down before it that is unlike it. Do you believe it? Yes. Oh my God, do you believe it? Yes. Well, are you living it? Yes. Ah. Were some of us a bit too hasty in our yeah? Because if we were living it, it would only take the amount of people in this room living that to get us really up and running. Ernest Holmes says, give me 1,000 people who have so imbibed the principles of the science of mind and spirit, and I will give you a new world. Well, where's the new world? There's more than 1,000 of us in this teaching for a long time. You're the 1,000. Nobody else. Nobody else, and you cannot put that responsibility on anybody else, and neither can I. It's up to me. If it's going to be, it's up to me, and how transformation changes is by me transforming my life now, me transforming my way of thinking, my way of feeling, my way of doing, my way of being on this plane. It's up to me. And it's up to you. And guess what? I believe we're equal to this. I believe that we can do this. I really do believe that this is not a pipe dream, and that the new American dream is one that is transforming and advancing and healing and unifying, and one dream for all of life. That's the American dream. I would like to make the lady of the harbour proud again. I would like to see a smile. Mind you, she's never smiled, I have to say. But wouldn't it be nice if there was a grin on her face? That could happen too. But you and I have to be the lady of the harbour. That's what we have to be. And so I'm talking about taking care of our own people, of course. But then, as my mother would say, charity, love always begins at home, but it should never end there. It's the beginning place. It's not the ending place. You share it, and she lived that belief. She lived that belief. She shared. That was a woman that was quite amazing. She'd be off with a breakfast tray or something like that in the morning to go to some poor household where the mother was having her 8th child or whatever, and take care of her and all of that and so on. And this was just a common thing. People in those days, have you noticed, and maybe it's still the same, and I haven't really noticed to the same extent, but they took care of each other. They took care of each other. Neighborhoods knew their neighbors. And they took care of each other, and certainly the children. The children. If we can't do it for ourselves, let's do this for the children. They deserve to grow up in a safe, secure, and prospering world so that they can flourish and thrive and make it even better when they're all fully grown. That's what we must do. That's what we're called to do. That's who we are. That's what we are. There is no getting away from that, my dear ones. If you are part of a spiritual community, this is what you're into, and there's no getting away from it. You have to face into that. It's a vortex, remember, of energy. It's a storm of energy. And you have to face the storm and move through the storm and get to the eye of the storm and fall into it with great surrender and say, I'm ready, I'm here. And then Wonder Woman will be nothing. Superman will be nothing compared to each and every one of us. We won't need the bracelets. We won't need the magic cloak or whatever. We're just going to get out of the way and let spirit be spirit by means of each one of us and turn this world around so that it becomes a world wherein everyone has an opportunity to live. Everyone can wake up every day and know there's enough on the plate, there's a roof over my head, there are clothes on my back, education, and so on and so forth. Everybody deserves that. Every single person on the planet deserves that. Every life force deserves that. We are losing species like we've never lost at the rate we've never lost before. Let's stop it now. Let's stop the nonsense by being who we are and what we are and whose we are, and developing that lovely sense of I can never meet a stranger. I can never meet a stranger. I can only meet myself. I'm always meeting myself, whether it's good or bad or not so great. I'm always meeting myself. I have to go beyond the appearances and I have to embrace the divinity within each and every one, but I can't do it until I do that with myself. And to do that with myself, I need to have a connection, a strong connection with my source. I need to take time out. I need to be still. I need to know, and blah, 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 blah. You've heard it over and over and over again. What do you want is the question, and it's rhetorical. Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in the world? And are you willing to do your fair share of what it's going to take to create the kind of world that we all want in our hearts? Are you willing to take from your store and put on the plate of life your contribution and know that every day that's what I do and I'm making the difference? Are you willing to let God be God by means of you? Are you willing? Yes. I'm knowing you are, because you are that point of power through which the infinite intelligence of all of life expresses itself, if you'd let it, with all its radiant magnificence. That's who and what you are, and so it is. Namaste. Namaste.